Photography is less about the final image and more about the experience.
Once you have one photo, you cannot replicate the photo anymore. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
It's just an incredible region to explore and hopefully to keep exploring.
I'm Alex Troll. I'm a photographer, filmmaker from France, although I live in the US and I was born in Spain. This feels like a homecoming, this trip, actually. What do I do? Professional life liver? A friend put it really well. He said that I'm with a French accent. You know, we can do it. A disciplined practitioner of the once-in-a-lifetime experience. For me, photography is just an excuse to live my childhood dreams. Being a freelance photographer is a very sort of type A job, right? It's the same kind of struggle, and it's obviously good, it keeps you on your toes, but yeah, it's just frustrating when you're not able to align the things you want to align to get the shots you need to get. Yeah, things don't work, people don't want to be photographed, or the light is flat. There's like 20 reasons it's going to go wrong and only one that is going to go well, so the odds are against you in general. You know, my role is to manifest my ideas and my visual work, and that's it. My process is very simple. I spend a lot of time researching and setting up things, and when I get there, I've done most of the work already. So it's just, I've prepared for my dance, I've rehearsed, now it's just time to dance, and that's the easy part. It's making the photos. Yeah, honestly, the enemies to photography for me is poor pre-production. If you don't have the right subject at the right place at the right time, that's a pre-production problem. For me, it's making sure that I have the right talent to match the area. So if I'm going to a place that there's climbing, I want to have climbers, but not just normal climbers, special climbers. Maybe they have huge dreadlocks, or maybe just to add more production value to my work. So whenever I can't add as much production value as I want, that's where I feel like I'm in trouble. You can rely on accidental things, on luck, but that just only works 1 out of 10 times. But how about the nine other times? Being, you know, that's the difference between the professional and the amateur. You know, the professional has to hit every single time.
Literally, it hasn't rained since like December? No, since May.
Yeah.
And the one day we come.
Just our luck. That's the difficulty of street photography.
Yeah, street photography life. You want sunshine.
Yeah.
You want the whites to feel crispy. But yeah, right now
nothing is exciting.
Everything just feels a bit grey.
It's going to be difficult.
So my name is Michael Chudley. I live in England and I love street photography. The thing that most interests me about street photography is the in-between moments in the chaos. So the quiet moments or the interesting moments or the tiniest of details that most people don't see amongst the thousands of people. Finding those moments is the most interesting.
That is so beautiful.
It is. But these clouds are not helping.
No.
Naturally looks brilliant, but it's got a little bit of light to help.
Yeah.
So Street photography is incredibly difficult, and most of the time you don't get good images. And for example, walking around a rainy town where people are being very introverted, staying inside, not presenting themselves in the best way because no one wants to be outside in those conditions, you either have to suck it up and try it extra hard, or you can just completely forget about it and don't force the creativity. For a photograph to be interesting, I think the photographer has to have a reason to resonate with the moment, whether it be them finding it funny or them connecting with the people in the image. There has to be a reason for the person to notice the moment in the first place. So a lot of street photographers document what's real, but we actually have this ability to manipulate reality for a split second and make a certain angle or a certain positioning of people, and they actually are doing something totally unique and interesting, whether that's the shapes people are making or the things they're holding or the movements they're making.
It's difficult in
that can look quite funny as an image unintentionally, and I think that's kind of witty in a way. But when an image is funny but you're not laughing at the subject, it's wonderful. A good way of taking photos when there is not necessarily any people directly in frame is to make photographs about people without people. So things that human beings have done and left an impact on, but not necessarily their face directly.
I love that.
But you have to accept not being able to get results. And that's why practicing the process and practicing the observations is the goal.
Back down? Yeah.
So what I love about photography is when multiple elements come together for one frame to work cohesively. So it's okay if one thing happens and it's okay if another thing happens. So there might be an interesting shadow, or there might be an interesting subject, or there might be interesting color or light. But if all of that come together, that's when the magic really happens. You should always be practicing because the results are not necessarily in your control. So the results are just a bonus.
I'm Luke Stackpool. I'm a travel and landscape photographer from the UK. For the past 5 years now, I've been traveling around the world taking photos, mostly in dramatic landscape environments and getting out in the wild and seeing the beauty of the world around us. I really focus my work on dramatic scenery, so things with rugged mountains usually, or inclement weather, or somewhere that really feels like another landscape, another world. My process, I guess, is split into two parts. I have the research and the capturing actual in the field part, where I spend time before prepping and then going out there hiking, and then the technical skill, trying to take the photo, which is something you can learn, and then there's the whole other side, which is the post-production and adding my sort of creative flair to it to give your own vision and breathe life into the image yourself. In terms of locations, I guess traditionally we all go for the classics, Yosemite and typical mountains, or Lofoten Islands in Norway. But if you're trying to find something unique to stand out these days and maybe create some really interesting photography that is going to be like a wow factor, you have to sort of travel off the beaten track and go somewhere slightly more remote to find these interesting compositions that are lesser known, and they will stand out more to people. It was almost like an ancient hunt, but now with a camera. It was so fun just to sort of be there together with everyone and finding this wild animal and hearing it and seeing it, and then watching it finally notice that I was there and it kind of run off into the distance. We were in Doñana and we were desperately searching for these deer because we were told that they were around, but they were being quite elusive. And we were in a really stunning place at sunrise. We had this beautiful light, walked up behind the dune, and it didn't spot me until the very last moment when I was right in front of it, probably 5-10 meters away at most.
Oh shit.
And it sort of walked out and looked at me, and I had a brief couple of seconds just to grab a couple of photos. Just completely wild, and it was such a stunning moment, locking eyes with this deer. Definitely think you know when you have a great photo is when you look at it on the back of the camera and it already looks great, because a lot of the time you take an image and it's not so great, and then you push it in post-processing and you can make something of it. But when you're looking at it and it already looks edited and the colors are great, that's already so good. And I guess it's the same for any creative. If things look good on the back of the camera, you know you've got it.
My name is Jason Kummerfeld. I hail from Southern California, and the type of photography I do, always tough to explain. I guess there isn't a word for it, but if it were to be described as something, I guess it would be environmental or painterly. It's really just whatever looks like it belongs in a painting, or it would be painted, if that makes any sense at all. It's kind of an abstract thought, but yeah, I mean, photography is really just about finding the emotion, the raw emotion, somewhere, somehow, and presenting it. How do you take candid paintings, right, is the question. But I think that there's a certain sense of like romanticism in just everyday life that maybe we take for granted, we don't really notice. Like daily life is just romantic, driving to work, things like that. You can find beauty in everything. So that's kind of what I'm after, is like I'm interested in finding the beauty in something kind of mundane or whatever, making something mundane or everyday to someone look like it's out of a painting. So, I mean, I think every image is broken down into color, composition, and mood. Mood is like the most important. What mood do you feel when you look at an image? Do you get something from it personally? That kind of thing, that's the most important thing. Color, obviously the color of a picture. If you're taking black and white, you can disregard that. Composition is, you know, where things are in the frame and so on and so forth. And then mood is just what you get from the image. It's all purely subjective. And if I hit all three of those points, then it's a photo that's worth taking, I think. I shoot a lot of infrared film, which looks really, really odd. You've probably seen it. It's the color film that has, it turns trees like this red or pink color, and everything looks very abstract. Yeah, so then with the challenge with that is, how do I take a photo that looks like an Edward Hopper painting, except in very abstract colors, like it's on another planet? Then you start getting into these creative, weird mixtures of things, and you know, it's a fun place to explore, and I would say that's where my style really flourishes. Yeah, does that make sense? Your work can be great by some people's standards, but it's never going to be good enough by your own standards. You always want to do better. And that's not just photography, that's videography, whatever kind of art you do. It's the artist's curse. I think if I could have told myself back in high school, be the biggest fan of your own work, you know, fall in love with your own work, don't worry about what other people are doing. But if you love your own work and can't wait to see what's next, then you're in a good spot.
I'm Taylor Pendleton, and I am from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. And I actually shoot a lot of things. I do portraits, I do landscapes, I kind of shoot everything. Got it. How to beat the street cleaner. I know when to press my shutter button based off of a feeling. It's all, whether you want to call it your gut or your instinct, whatever that is. And that's a huge reason why I go into a lot of my projects blind and just kind of ready for the environment to surprise me. Photography has become the thing where my mind can go quiet. Aside from actual sitting meditation. So it is absolutely a way for me to slow my thoughts down and my body down and take time that I don't normally do in real life or in normal life. I'm rushing from one thing to the next usually, and when I have my camera in my hand, everything goes in slow motion. I love to capture any emotion, anything at all, because to me, I mean, human emotion is absolutely captivating, and it can really come through on the street when you're seeing people interact and move about the world in their own way. And as far as like portraiture and photographing people, the stories I like to tell there are usually a little bit out of the box. Whereas with portraiture, I like to maybe go out of the box a little bit, get a little weird. I'm always itching for kind of an unexpected, maybe even ugly expression to show just the range of human emotion. I think, yes, it's very important to capture happiness, but how interesting is it to see other emotions, right? With landscapes in particular, or anything with nature, I am always very drawn to scenes that have some sort of juxtaposition of nature and like modern technology, or anything really manufactured or human-made. I do love capturing that with landscapes. I also really lean towards landscapes that are peaceful feeling. I think the most important thing is perseverance, and if you know you're passionate about it and you love it, stick with it, because the technical skill can absolutely come later on, whereas you can't manufacture passion or you know, interest in photography. That's something that is already in somebody. And actually just needs to be nurtured. And I think that happens with time and experience, and really what it is time with your camera. So trying to find that balance in both landscapes and portraiture can be really interesting, sometimes difficult. But with landscapes in particular, I really enjoy looking for a story of peace or serenity.
My name is Nick Carver. I'm from Southern California, and I'm a primarily landscape and architectural photographer, using mostly large format film, 6x17 photography, a panoramic format. It's kind of my My trademark, I guess you could say. So I use these film formats and I shoot the subjects I do because I really like to approach subjects with a slow, contemplative approach and really invest a lot into one photo. And the large format cameras I use really force me to slow down and kind of allow me to get hypercritical about composition and the placement of things. And I like that degree of control, but I also like how much that connects me to the subject, especially when it's a subject that maybe most people don't see the beauty in right off the bat. You know, like the desert, I think a lot of people don't see the beauty in it right away. They can kind of brush it off as, oh, it's ugly, there's no plants, there's no life. But I really see a lot of beauty there. And sometimes I have to really slow down and soak it in to find the thing that other people are going to find beautiful there. And the formats I use and my process of shooting really allows me to dive into it and let it soak in deep so I can get the pictures that I'm proud of. I definitely seem to be attracted to a couple different things. One of them being the subjects where I feel most people would walk right past it and not see any beauty in it. And then also I really like to see the passage of time in a photo. So for instance, I really like shooting donut shops and liquor stores and laundromats and all these places that are these businesses that have been there for a really long time. And they start to develop all these different signs in the windows over the years, and the plants grow and decay around it, and the building decays and they repair things. And you end up in one photo, you can almost see the whole history of this building and all of the people that have interacted with it over the many years. And I really love to capture that because to me, it's almost like a written history of this small slice of a community that would just get brushed over by everyone else. But I find beauty in that, I guess. The fact I have such a slow style to photography honestly made me think they made a mistake when they first asked me to do this, because I mean, everything now is Instagram and travel photos and get out as much content as possible. And it felt weird that I was being asked to, like, yeah, it's okay if you take 2 pictures today. We want to see how you see it. And that's an incredible, we know you're going to put a lot of effort into 1 or 2 shots, and that's okay. Go ahead and do it. It's incredible. So I think that's something I can bring to this project that maybe other photographers won't, is I'm going to really put my all into much fewer photos. And that will hopefully result in the type of photos I like to put out, which is something that's very well thought through, very carefully composed, very carefully timed to get just the right light. And I'm hoping I'll be proud of them. And of course, I'm hoping, you know, it's a good representation of the region, and the people of Andalucía will be proud of them too.
My name is Lizzie Pierce. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I am a photographer, also a video producer, and I shoot mostly travel and anything related to travel photography. The most interesting part of travel photography for me is just the overall surprise of ending up in these different locations, seeing different people, trying the different foods, walking in on a market you didn't know was happening. And you know when you're home that all these things are happening, but it's hard to really internalize like how many unique places and people there are halfway across the world, you know, that you're not even thinking about, and getting to actually see that and capture it. It's the feeling you get from the photo and like the emotion or the story that's behind it, not just a pretty photo. Some of the obstacles I'll run into, I mean, there are many. You envision the location in a certain kind of light and you're not getting it. And when you're traveling, you only have this small window of time there. And it's really frustrating because you really want that photo, or you really want to find this spot that you've seen before and you just can't find it. There was a moment the other day where we'd seen this photo. So it's frustrating because there's tons of missed opportunities. That's the part that really gets me, is the missed opportunities in having to be somewhere at a certain time when you don't live in that location. And sometimes you have to drive by a perfect shot that you see out the window, and it's never going to happen again. You know, and travel photography, rolling with the punches. You know, what can I get in this amount of time while I'm here in this light? What are my options? What I look around and see, you know, what's inspiring, what's interesting, what's catching my eye? What do I look at and go, wow, that's so beautiful and inspiring? And that's kind of the fun of travel photography, is like walking around and seeing what inspires you, but then you actually get to compose a photo that captures it and show everybody else, which I think is really cool. The best photo that you can take is the one you took. So always know that if you feel like you did your best and you took the best photo that you could and you tried your hardest in that moment, that is your best work then. To continue improving, you just have to keep shooting. The fun is in the process and trying new things. When you finally get that perfect shot after everything, it's just like, I think for some people it's a high, and it is, but for me it's almost relief. You look at it and you're like, this is what I was looking for. You're just like, okay, I did it. I got one. Like capturing Pokemon or something. You're like, I got one I'm really proud of. I did it. You know, everything aligned and you did it. Finally.
Can you look at me? The camera, yeah. Yes, very nice. Can you play? My name is Robin. I'm a photographer from Germany, and I mainly shoot people. I document life. Some people call it street photography. I do it as well, but that's what I do. I document life in the streets, just normal daily scenes you will see everywhere. I try to document that. I think it's a lot of beauty in these things, and a lot of photographers have done it in the past, and I like to continue what they have done as well. In street photography, everything is very random. It's really hard to plan things. If you shoot landscapes, you can come back the next day and it will basically be the same. The light might be different, but the thing is the same. In street photography, once you have one photo, you cannot replicate the photo anymore. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I think a photo is becoming special if the viewer is looking at it and it sparks some emotion in them. And it's make them think, what happened in that scene? What is going on? So there's some curiosity in them. So what is going on? So they have no idea. I think that is what makes a really good photo. A photo that is just, I mean, that's just my opinion, but a photo that is just looking nice, that doesn't make a good photo. There's no story here. I think the story and the emotions, that's what makes it a good photo. When I try to look for a specific photo, it will never happen. And then something else presents itself, you know. And also if I miss a photo, it's annoying in that moment, but from experience I know that's not a problem because around the corner there's the next photo. Maybe even a better one. Sometimes you miss one opportunity, but because you missed that one, another one comes up and it's even better. So when I come to a new place, the way I approach a new place is by just walking around. Usually I will try to figure out what areas have a lot of people, and I will just go there. I try to avoid the most touristy places because then you have a lot of tourists. It's not a problem, but I try to find other places. I also go to touristy places because usually there's a lot of people. And to me, I prefer to have locals, but I don't mind if it's tourist in the end. But usually it's what I do is I walk a lot. And I try to avoid public transportation because if I'm on the bus or on the train, I will probably miss out on a lot of things. And often it's maybe the places that are not super popular where I find the best photos. It's maybe even in the suburbs, if you go to some bigger cities in the suburbs, because there's more the local life and you might see something interesting there. Instead of in the city center where everybody looks the same maybe, especially in the West. If you're in Asia, it's different. You find a lot of characters. But I think in the West, in the city centers, it's much more hard to find characters. So you have to go a little further out to find them. Usually, yeah, you could stage it, of course, but if you are not doing that, it's the one, like I said, it happens once, it will never happen again. And I think this is what I like the most about it. And also, sometimes you screw up, you can't do it again. And it's really frustrating, but also that's the challenge, what I like. I like to challenge myself, to get it done. And when everything lines up, it's perfect, and I love that.
My name is Thomas Heaton from the UK, and I'm a landscape photographer, so anything outdoors. I actually enjoy a bit of wildlife as well, but predominantly landscapes. The thing that interests me the most about landscape photography is not actually the photographs, which sounds a bit counterintuitive. For me, photography is less about the final image and more about the experience. So when I was younger, I had these aspirations to go hiking and traveling, but I never had the confidence to do that by myself until I picked up a camera. Then all of a sudden, everything had purpose. So I am very, very lucky that I have a sizable online following, which means I'm able to share my photography. And the best thing, without a doubt, is that I get emails from people who say that they've watched my videos, they've seen my photographs, and that has inspired them to not learn photography for the first time, but to dust off their old cameras, because these are photographers who used to enjoy photography and then for one reason or another have stopped doing photography, and then they've somehow stumbled upon my work, and then I've inspired them and they've got excited again about photography. That's by far the best thing. So yeah, this is to be incorporated into the video, into the documentary. It's, you know, because it's part of what I do making these videos. That's what we're doing. I go out there to enjoy the landscape, and if I'm inspired and something perhaps captures my eye, or something happens, you know, the beautiful light, anything that inspires me, then I am able to hopefully investigate it and make an image. And by approaching landscape photography that way, it means that I'm less disappointed when things don't go to plan, because with landscape photography, things don't go to plan. Like, there's so much we can't control. Like, success is difficult. But it's so difficult because you go out into the landscape now and try and find me something with negative space and isolation. It's difficult, man. Nature's chaotic. So the challenge is trying to yeah, trying to find those scenes that have very little in them and only what's important within the frame. But if I can find clean lines, you know, patterns, textures, geometric shapes, create an image whereby there are no distractions and the viewer is very much aware of what they're looking at and what the subject is. Am I always happy with that image? More often than not, no. So it depends how you define empty-handed. Like, if I get one good image a month, so 12 per year, like, I'm very happy. Most of the time it doesn't happen. But yeah, when it does happen, oh, that's why we keep going. But I like to just keep my expectations as low as possible. And then the magic hopefully will happen. People are going to discover it. It's those who used to do it, for some reason stopped, and then picked it up again, you know, found that new approach, that breath of fresh air. And that to me is just the magic recipe.
My name is Mitchell Kanashkevich. I am from Australia and I do travel and documentary photography. The things that interest me most about travel photography, they've always been people. I'm fascinated by people. I love to people watch. I love to learn about different traditions, different cultures. I love to find those little differences and the nuances, you know, that actually make us diverse and different and fascinating. I like to study people, to see. I might go to a cafe, I might buy a coffee, sit down somewhere, just hang out on a street corner and just observe people, just watch what they're doing, watch the interaction. I think when you're talking about people, there are a few elements. You know, there's obviously the most obvious one aesthetically is light. But when it comes to people, there are a lot of other nuances. So I would be looking for a certain expression, gesture. You have something that unexplainably draws you into the picture and you can't even really put your finger on it, and yet you can't stop looking at it. You know, maybe it's something that is an element of surprise. You know, when you look at the photo and you're captivated by it and you don't even know what it is that captivates you specifically. I think in Spain there's this element of drama in the story. The people are quite good storytellers. When there's a crowd of people, there's a group, that's one of the more challenging situations to shoot in, because what I want is kind of at least to try and get the peak moment from every person. Probably the most challenging kind of people photography, in my opinion, because I want the composition to be relatively clean. I want it to be aesthetically good. And at the same time, I want it to have emotion. So it's like a really organic sort of process, and it's you know, it's the totality of things. Like, if everything comes together, great, I've got the photo. For a photographer like me, who's fascinated by culture and traditions, a region like Andalucía is a treasure trove, because surprisingly, there's just still so much here that's left, so much culture that's still valued. That I was here before 10 years ago, and I came here now and I realized, wow, I really missed a lot of things. And now I'm realizing, wow, if I come back again, there's still going to be so much to explore. So I think there are a few places in the world that place such emphasis and such importance on their culture. And as somebody who gets excited, you know, really excited about this kind of stuff, it's just an incredible region to explore and hopefully to keep exploring.